Sex, drugs, and risky business were the only things on notorious stock swindler Jordan Belfort's mind until his fall from grace over a decade ago. Academy Award-winning director Martin Scorsese reunites with Leonardo DiCaprio in his latest film, The Wolf of Wall Street, which chronicles Belfort's indulgent ride as a crooked banker, squandering profits from a boiler room brokerage that ended up burning thousands of investors. Join The Hollywood Reporter as we sit down with actors Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill, screenwriter Terence Winter, and the legendary Martin Scorsese to discuss the inspiration, challenges, and breakthroughs in the making of this movie. Welcome to The Hollywood Reporter in Focus, The Wolf of Wall Street.
My name is Jordan Belfort. At the tender age of 22, I headed to the only place that befit my high-minded ambitions.
Name of the game, move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But if you can make your clients money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
No.
I'm Stephen Galloway with The Hollywood Reporter, and thank you for joining us for an in-depth look at one film, Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. And I'd like to say hello to Leonardo DiCaprio,
Hello.
Martin Scorsese, Jonah Hill, and Terry Winter, who wrote the script. Let's go to the subject and how this began. What drew you all to this story?
What was so fascinating after reading the book was this time period in Wall Street, but how candid and honest Jordan Belfort was about his undertakings during that time period. I mean, I've never read an account of anything more embarrassing in my life. And it was just hard to believe. It was almost like a modern day Caligula. It was like a Roman Empire gone awry in the late 80s, early 90s. And so we optioned the book. Terry immediately wrote an unbelievable screenplay, and I think the road to getting it made was, 6 or 7 years long. We tried to make it initially right after Shutter Island.
No, before.
Before Shutter Island.
We did Shutter instead. Remember, right after
That's
Departed.
right.
That's
right.
That Irish gangster thing.
That's right.
That small picture that won
I
an
haven't
Oscar.
seen it, but it's on my Netflix.
No, you guys should take a look.
All right, okay.
You were in a bidding war with Brad Pitt.
Did we win?
Yes, we won. I think we won.
How did you win? What did you say that got you the project?
I don't remember. I guess it was just the passion for wanting to make this into a movie.
I think we were all in agreement that we wanted to tell the truest version of this story and not the sanitized version. I mean, it's an incredibly wild ride. The book is, I put it down to sleep for a couple hours, got back up and finished it in one sitting. It's just, you can't believe what you're reading and the giddiness in which the story is told. Jordan is absolutely forthcoming to the point where you can't believe this man is talking about himself, some of the things he's admitting. So we wanted to do that version of it. And one of the observations I made was that Jordan is so funny, talking about people, what they look like, how he goofed on people, and that wouldn't naturally make their way into conversation. I didn't want to lose that, so I broached the subject of voiceover, and Marty said, well, yeah, this is sort of, I said, it kind of feels like Goodfellas and Casino to me. Would it be okay if I wrote it in that style and tried that, and everybody was on board with that? So you just wanted to hear Jordan's voice.
So you're coming into this magic circle. Were you nervous?
Yes, the first rehearsals were just the three of us in a hall, so for me, obviously, it was intimidating. This is my favorite director and my favorite actor, and now I got to, was having to be in the position to work with them. The first few days, it was incredibly intimidating, but once you got into the work, then you dive into that, and you're making something together.
We first met in Mexico.
Yeah.
And he had read the screenplay, and what you look for with anyone is a firm commitment that they are that character. And we were sitting down outside, and he said, I read this script, and there's nobody else that should play that role except for me.
Yeah, you told me.
You know that, right? And I immediately told you about it, and from what the feedback that I got was you guys met once, and Marty was like, it was one of the best meetings I've ever had in my life. This guy's got to play the role.
Actually, the first time I met him was at the Academy Awards. He was sitting in front of me. He was great. And sitting in front of me was incredible. I said, Helen, my wife was saying, "That's Jonah Hill." I said, "No." He was just sitting there. It was amazing.
Yeah. The back of my head was really expressive, and
You really believed you were sitting
I was believed he was sitting in
it
front
was
of me.
almost like I was actually there.
There, you know? And so I had seen Moneyball and all that sort of stuff, so I said, okay. And then you called and said about him. And I said, I just met the guy, you know? And then, of course, we met in New York. He came in.
Having somebody like Jonah on set was an amazing gift for us. It really was, because his ability to improvise and take things in a million different directions, and then having to hone the scene sort of back to where the hell we started and make a point of it.
I kept saying, where are we?
Was it what the hell is going on?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Is that your car on the lot?
Yeah.
It's a Jag?
Yeah.
How much money you make?
I don't know, 72,000 last month.
You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now and I work for you.
You've worked together, I think this is your fifth film. Do you remember the first time you met?
I do. I was in New York, I believe I was 18 or so. I'd just done Gilbert Grape, and there was an after party down at some bar downtown. You were there, I quickly bumped into you, and I was sort of paralyzed that it was you. And I just sort of stood there and he said, "Hey kid, I saw your movie. Yeah, you did a great job in that film. Really, keep it up. And I didn't say anything. He just sort of walked by me.
That's right.
And I was I was shocked that he'd actually seen, I'd done 2 movies at that time, This Boy's Life and Gilbert Grape. I was shocked that he'd actually seen the film and said something to me, and I was just kind of blown away by that.
What did you remember the first time you guys met? I mean, not that first
I don't
time,
remember
but-
that. I remember seeing the film, of course, and Robert De Niro was the one who told me about Leo and said, I work with this kid in this film, and you should really work with him someday. And so I think it was the first time I was on the set of a film I was shooting in New York. Bring Out the Dead, I think.
Bring Out the Dead,
yeah,
right.
We'll talk with talking about gangs in New York. I think that's how it started.
As you've got to know each other, what surprised you about each other?
Well, I had always had, we have this image of Martin Scorsese, I think, from the films that he's done. I mean, look, I didn't quite understand what a professor of film he is, how he could challenge anyone in the world as far as his knowledge of film is concerned, his passion for film and its preservation, and how the man lives and breathes cinema every single day of his life. But beyond that, what an incredible collaborator he is with other actors, and how much he respects the actor's process. I mean, you know that from seeing the movies that he does, but there really is nobody better. Your performance is paramount to him, and the film, I think, is structured ultimately around what you do as an actor and what he brings out. And he keeps talking about plot being insignificant to him when he does a movie. It's about the characters, it's about the people. And that's a process that needs to be nurtured, and that's something that is a talent in unto itself, because it's difficult to get us as performers to feel comfortable on set and be our best.
When you came to cut it, you had a much longer cut than the final, I think, 2 hours 45. What happened? The film was delayed. It was going to be released earlier. There was a lot of debate.
It took longer to cut the shaping of the picture, that's all. There was so much footage. Our process was pushed back about 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I'd say. But that's also the part, too, of absorbing the picture, thinking about the shape of it. It was naturally lengthier than it is now. So
How long was it?
I think it was over 4 hours or so, yeah.
Would you have wanted to release it at that length?
No, not really, no. That's all just the first cut. That everybody talk about these director cuts things. It doesn't really, unless in the old days, if they took the film away from you and they made a cut, and there was a director's cut here, and somebody found it, that's a director's cut. But a longer cut is a longer cut. There's nothing in the picture that, there's a couple of lines of dialogue I would have liked to put back in. But with just, the rhythm is just off just a bit, it affects the next scene and the next scene. And it was really, really quite an experience putting this together in the editing room.
Do you get nervous as a director?
Nervous?
Yeah.
All the time. It's a horrible, wonderful and horrible at the same time experience.
Who would you turn to for advice?
Well, for advice on set,
can be honest.
Here's the man. Jonah, what am I going to do? You know, I mean, I'm close. The people who work with me, really, and it's the actors and the DP, Rodrigo Prieto on this. Adam Sumner, who's the assistant director, worked for the first time. He works a lot on Steven Spielberg films. He did War Horse, and I figured he could do this then. You know.
Do you call that do you call Spielberg and say, hey, what's your take on this?
Well, he came on the set the day we were shooting the speeches.
Right. Yeah.
So he was there. He came in to say hello, and he stayed the whole day and was helping me say, I think you should move the camera.
The microphone's blocking your face.
The mic is blocking his face. I know. What am I going to do?
It was like a double whammy for everyone on set. Everyone who had to act that day was like, oh, Jesus Christ, Spielberg and Scorsese are watching me.
I'll say that is, if all of this wasn't surreal, when you would go back to get notes and they were sitting next to each other, it was insane, yeah.
With this script, I'm gonna teach each and every one of you to be the best.
This is the greatest company in the world!
The speeches that he wrote for me were particularly, I mean, I'd been thinking about them for 7 years. I'd never had, you know, a monologue like that in my life. I mean, it went on for 4 pages. It was amazing.
Did you think carefully before you wrote those speeches?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, going over them in my head, you know, writing a version, coming back, reading through it, acting it out loud. When I say acting, I put big quotes around that. The joy for a writer, of course, is to write something and then you hear it in your head and you go, yeah, that really works, and then watch an actor like Leo take it and bring it to a level that you never even
But
thought
you weren't
of.
actually on the set when they shot?
No, when I saw it, I couldn't believe what I got back. It was just unbelievable. I mean, you know, it's taken to a different place. I mean, those are the words, but again, in the mouth of somebody who's, you know, at Leo's ability, it's incredible.
I remember the day I was on set.
Yeah, I know.
I was on set and I was supposed to get up there in front of, you know, 600 extras and give this giant Braveheart-like speech on greed, you know, and pumping people up to go out there and screw people over. And my throat kind of just seized up. It was almost like an adrenaline dump, and I immediately got sick.
Yeah.
And we had to.
I have a great picture of you with all the medicine,
All the
remember?
medicine,
Yeah, he has like 9,000 medicine
So we shot
bottles.
around it.
We shot around it,
Take
got the
your time.
reactions. Thank God I got, you know, I had a couple days to sort of
Yeah.
rethink all of it and prepare myself for it, get better, and we ended up doing it a few weeks later. This right here is the land of opportunity.
You just tried to bribe a federal officer.
This is America! This is my home!
What do I do with this hand now?
Like,
Twist it way behind you.
yeah, like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now keep it, no, that's good. Hold it like that, hold it like that. That's it.
Will you guys superimpose a glass of champagne right here?
I had gone down the road of looking for other filmmakers at one point because he was going off to do silence, and I couldn't get him out of my mind because I didn't think there was anybody that could quite capture the dark, sadistic humor in Terry's screenplay as Marty, and I just didn't want to do it with anybody else. So I waited and waited and waited and waited, and finally the opportunity came, and with the right group of people that said basically, you know, push it even further, push the envelope even further. Don't hold anything back.
As producer, you're also, I guess, in a position to say no to your director. Did you ever? Where did you not agree?
No, in what way, though?
You can't shoot another day?
Oh, well, no, we actually...
Enough takes?
No, not that. No, I wouldn't.
No, I don't think so. But what was interesting is that we worked very closely on how many days we should go, where should we put the emphasis in production elements. We got hit with Hurricane Sandy. We had to close down for a week. All of this went on.
We're bringing back all these memories.
Well,
You
how,
know,
how did that affect your
we had to
shooting?
stop. And every day they'd say, we'll go tomorrow. And then we get up, and then it was the next day. And the next day, finally, they stopped.
crane fell on
Then
the
the crane
building.
fell on the building. The crane on 57th Street started to fall because of Hurricane Sandy, and my editing room was across the street, and we couldn't get in the block, so I couldn't even go and edit. So the whole week we just waited, you know.
I was becoming a legend.
Aren't you married?
Yeah, but married people can't have friends.
We're not gonna be friends.
I was making so much money, I didn't know what to do with it.
$26,000 for one dinner!
Dad, we're not poor anymore.
Tell them about the sides.
What are these sides? They cure cancer?
The sides did cure cancer. That's the problem. That's why they were expensive.
It's Wall Street set in the past. What does it say about the world today? Any of you?
I think how history repeats itself, and how we're not learning from our mistakes. I mean, it is just holding a mirror up to what is still going on. I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, you think, certainly, I mean, I thought after 2008, it's like, surely this is the end of this stuff. And you look and just say, man, it just keeps on going. But here it is. It's all right there for you.
What has changed? What has changed? They pay fines. Can afford $350 billion, you can afford it. Well, who's culpable? Where are they? Jordan goes to jail.
Did you think when you set out to make this, and was it your intent to create a mirror for society today?
We're doing a movie about a theme that has been touched upon many times in the past, which is greed. And you know, I was doing press the other day, and I started talking about greed. I'm like, okay, when did greed start? You know, let's look back. And I'm like, wait a minute. It started before civilization, and it's not beholden to mankind itself. Greed is a fundamental characteristic of survival of all living things on
2001,
Earth. There's nothing that would not kill another species in order to survive. It's fundamentally a part of evolution and existence, and you know, and being able to progress forward. So I was trying to talk about greed in this obscure way, and I realized, wait a minute, okay, where's the delineation between who we are now and what greed is? And it comes back to the fact that, you know, are we as this intelligent life form able to, you know, supersede that, to overcome, to ultimately live harmoniously with others in the world that we live in?
No, that's the very nature. We have to deal with it.
It's inherent in every problem out there, you know. Greed is the basis of all of it.
Are we able to?
Is that the question that I'm supposed to answer here?
You asked the question.
Are we able to? You know, I think it has to do with the evolution of our species, honestly, and I do not think we're there yet. I agree with you. I mean, not even close. That's certainly one.
But there has to be a constant recognition of the failure of who we are, whether your own, you know, people around you, the society you're in, and the ability to be able to criticize and be able to talk freely about it without being tagged or, you know, given a
I'm teaching my 5- and 6-year-old how to play Monopoly, and you know, when you see that they are positively giddy if you land on one of their things, and they realize they can bankrupt you as you just land on
it's all there.
He's 6 years old. He's like, I'm wiped out. It's like, can you cut me a break here? You're out of money. You know, you got to give me this, give me that. It's like, wow. I mean, this is just hardwired.
Yeah.
You know, it is hardwired into just that killer instinct of just like okay, you know, thanks.
It's about it's being aware of the other person. You know, there really is being. What's the thing of common good or individual freedom? I always felt the common good. That's the idea.
We don't work for you, man.
You have my money taped to your boobs. Technically, you do work for me.
How does this actually work?
There's a big money sign.
They get launched at the time, they stick.
This is their gift, okay? They're built to be thrown like a lawn dart.
1, 2, 3!
Stop. Okay?
Safety first.
Safety is first. We don't want to get a bad reputation.
What were you most uncertain about when you went into this film? Or worried about?
It sounds, it may sound funny, but I mean, everything really. Yet, I had to find the places with everyone. I had to find the scenes and I had to find how these scenes could feel as if they were happening at the moment. And then somehow the energy of the piece carries you through before you realize there isn't any plot really. But you seem to be spending a lot of time with these people, I think. And so, what are they doing, basically? And is that really important? And how important, for example, we had to be technically important about the financial aspects of it. Yeah. That sort of thing. But ultimately, I said, in my mind, nobody really listens to that. They're enjoying aghast.
We also always made a virtue of that. I mean, there was a lot of techno speak about what is an IPO, for example, and how does it work. And in the original drafts of the script, Jordan's explains it. And Marty and I talked about it. I said, this is sort of like science fiction where they talk about, you know, sending the rocket to space and the flange has to be put with the thermometer. You're not really hearing anything they're saying. All you need to know is if this thing goes up and explodes, it's bad. And we said, it's sort of the same thing here. It doesn't matter. So we actually had sequences where Jordan starts to explain, for example, what is an IPO, and then stops and goes, you know what, you're not really listening to this. The point is this, we made $27 million in 2 hours, and then you're
What's an
right.
IPO?
What's an IPO? I still don't know what an IPO is. So anyway, I'm just joking. But it was really the and also the style, because the style with voiceover is something that I've worked on for years, and how can I find another part of the prism, so to speak? How could I take the energy and push it even further? And sustain it for over a long period of time. That's the key.
Because you knew this was going to be a long film. I think
I had a
it's
sense of
around
it.
45
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah. I had a sense of that because of and the seemingly loose structural aspects of it, which really isn't, but it has to feel that way. It has to feel it's just flowing.
22 million in 3 hours!
The real question is this, was all this legal? Absolutely not.
Hang you up from the heavens.
He's got pictures of your whole inner circle. This is bad. It's okay.
Rub my temple.
You're all right.
When I first read the screenplay, before I started to do all the research, is not knowing a lot about Wall Street, was thinking that maybe these guys were big-time players, that they were Madoffs or Milkins. Then you start to do investigation. Wait a minute, these are like guys from the underworld.
Right.
Yeah, but
these are thugs beating on
the
Wall
same
Street
thing.
store.
See, it's still the same thing. It's the essence of it. It's the essence of that kind of thinking that way. It's the essence of behaving that way. And it's also something that I think it's part of human nature. That's the other issue. I think all of us, under certain circumstances, could be capable of some very despicable acts. I just think that. And that's the way. That's why over the years the movies I've made have characters where, starting with Mean Streets, we didn't care what people thought about them. We try to be as true to them as possible and maybe see part of ourselves in there that we may not like, but it's affecting everyone, particularly the behavior in this film is affecting everyone around the world right now. Always has.
Your character's in almost every scene of this film, and I think you went from Django Unchained to Gatsby to this. You wrote back to back. What kind of toll does that take on you personally?
Yeah, I actually did Gatsby first, then I went straight into Django Unchained, and then I went straight into this. And you know, usually I like to take a nice 6 months to prepare for each role in between. But look, I mean, I'd been waiting for this movie to happen for so many years, and finally everything was lined up perfectly to make it happen. And I felt like I'd already done so much of the preparation in my head that the opportunity to do it was, you know, was worth doing 3 movies back to back. I mean, I think I had a few weeks or a month or a couple
of weeks, I think.
Yeah, in between each of them. But yeah, it was almost a year and a half, 2 years of straight work. Jonah, you're working constantly now too. I mean, it takes a toll on you though. It really does. But you know, thankfully with this one, you know, we developed it so much.
Are you taking time off now, or?
Yeah, I've already taken my time off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, what's the experience of this film changed the most in each of you? Jonah?
Getting to play Donnie, I lost every shred of thoughtfulness to anyone else, and truly, but I think, you know, I really treated him like an animal, like it was someone just trying to gather, hoard, feed his needs, whatever, and without any regard for what that would do to any other person. And I think being able to do that for 6 months and live with that after the fact really makes you want to be thoughtful to people in a deeper way.
Well, it certainly got me off the idea of wanting to invest any money on Wall Street for the first time in my life. I think, you know, I think I'm happy with what I have, and I think maybe there's better things to do with my money. And yeah, it just really opened my eyes to the whole culture. I mean, I worked on Wall Street at one point earlier in my life, and you know, I didn't really think much about it until I spent a lot of time in this world, and you know, just really made me rethink the system and the damage done by a lot of these guys.
Leo?
It just made me think about all our primal urges and our need to, you know, manage those and not give in to the temptations that are out there. The life this man led was giving in to every possible temptation without regard for anyone else. And you know, when you jump into that world head first, as we did, and we started to feel like our characters sometimes. I mean, I know Jonah and I we just became kind of different people on set. Coming back to reality, you
literally when you drive home,
yeah,
you're like, oh my God.
You have to stop yourself from being this incredibly arrogant prick. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't.
Well, I was gonna say, I was fine with it.
Marty, what about you?
I don't even know if it's a relief. I have delivered the film today. I can't. I don't. It's like suddenly the I don't know, the rug's been pulled out from under you. I'm flying forward. And I really don't know. It's been in some sort of crazy dream.
Perfect note to end. I want to thank Terence Winter, Jonah Hill, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
For taking part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm zoning, I think I'm possessed. It's an omen, I keep it 300 like the Romans. 300